Awesome. Welcome, guys, to episode 2 of the Own It podcast with Brad Holiday. I'm here with Alex Vilenchek of Playing with Fire. Alex, good to have you here, brother.
For having me. Good to be
Yeah,
here.
anytime, man, anytime. So if you're not familiar with Alex's work, he's one of the best out there in online dating. You know, he pretty much pioneered a unique, novel way to optimize your Tinder profile and different online dating profiles, and he's just been killing it. And we both kind of dealt with similar challenges with Facebook censorship and YouTube censorship, kind of cracking down on us, talking about how to pick up girls and everything. Yet what I respect a lot about Alex is he still found a way to make it work for him, despite all those challenges. And that's like a mark of a real entrepreneur, is to be able to like deal with those challenges in life. So welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, I read a little bit of your blog and your background about coming up and getting good with girls and everything. It was like a challenge for you. Like, this was not something that was naturally yo, you there? Okay, cool. It was not like something that was naturally an easy thing for you. Do you want to just talk a little bit about your background, starting the whole Success with Women journey, and, where you started from and where you're at now and how you kind of came to this whole thing?
Yeah, for sure. It was not born good until I was 19 years old. It took me quite a bit. And then after that, it was very sporadic success until I was in my, I would say, early to mid 20s. How did I mean, it was a lot of trial and error. It was just a lot of trying different things. Reading, I wouldn't say I was reading so much material. It was more of just like modeling guys who were doing things successfully and kind of picking and choosing, seeing what worked for me, and having like a little bit of sporadic success here, sporadic success there, adopting this behavior, adopting this mindset, and then eventually just like reaching a plateau of competence, then becoming more competent, then using that competence to build more competence, kind of thing.
Yeah, it makes sense. Were you one of those guys that, were you like a late bloomer? Did you, were you, for me, I'll be transparent about it. I didn't get laid until I was like 18, and I had just like constant, would just like blow opportunities. Like, I had girls that were into me in high school, but I didn't know what the fuck to do. I didn't have any confidence. And it wasn't until I found like game and the seduction community later on that I actually started to develop into myself in actually like my early 20s. What was it like for you? Like, what time frame are we talking about here?
I was even later than you, man. I was 19 years old.
Wow.
I would blow a lot of opportunities for sure. When I was a freshman in college, still a virgin, I had a hot girl sleep in my bed, and I didn't move because it wasn't because I was like, I wouldn't say it was because I was a pussy, although that was probably like part of it. I didn't know that her sleeping in my bed meant that she wanted me to fuck her. Like, I just didn't know.
Right.
A little social intuition and social awareness that I just didn't know, and it was like a big surprise to me the next day when I was like, because I always had friends. I was never like a loner per se, but I just couldn't pick up like that girls would give off, just completely oblivious to them. And then when I told my friends about it, I didn't even tell my friends about it. They were like, yo, how was it, man? Did you rail her? And I was like, talking, like, rail who? They're like, her bed. I'm like, oh, well, like, we went to sleep. Like, to me, man, like, dude, she went to bed because she wanted you to fuck her. I was like, wait, you think she likes me? Like,
yeah.
I was like, so like, I was like, wait, what? Like, are you kidding me? It's like a religious person finding out that, like, God might not be real. It's like, wait, what? Like, come on, man. Like, nah, he's got to be. Or like finding out Santa's not real. Like, come on, dude, Santa exists. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, why do you think that that you had those issues? I know why I had them, but like, do you think it was like parents or society, or like what was it? Was it like a respecting women thing, like, oh, this is so sacred, you know, she doesn't want me to do that without courting her, or something like that? Like what do you think it was?
It was definitely a combination of things. It was one, being an outsider a lot. Like we moved around a lot when I was a kid, and I was always like, we get to like, I get to a school, I make friends. Like always, outsider kind of made me like for a while, like in my mind, it was just like no one. My dad's a great guy, but he never once explained to me, you know, like, hey, listen, like this is what, you know, this is how you get girls. This is what, you know, being a man is. Like I never had that at all. So like, and also like, you know, when we were growing up, like this was, I want to say like, you know, like 2000, mid 2000s, there wasn't really a plethora of information on this on the internet. So it wasn't like I also had like access to the info. So I just like, I would just say like lack of competence plus some like negative beliefs about myself. And yeah, I for sure had some like incorrect assumptions about women, like just like didn't know that girls were just as DTF as guys. Like I just didn't know that. Like
Right.
like guys were the ones that were like always like the horny ones, and that like, you know, we had to like win over the girl, and that like, you know, in my mind I hadn't won over this girl yet. You know, like I didn't know that just like being me and being like a cool guy is enough to win a girl over. Like, you know, I thought I had to do something. So it was definitely a combination of factors.
Right, right. Okay, that's legit. So when did it start to really like turn around for you? Like what was there like a particular breaking point for you? Because I think a lot of guys, I think there are a lot of guys out there now who they haven't really hit a point where it's gotten so bad that they're willing to do something about it. And I also think that they don't believe that it's possible for them to turn it around. So I think like guys like, you know, you and me are good examples because, you know, my story is very similar to yours. I hit a point where I was so much pain, had to turn around. I'm curious, did you have like one point, or was it like you just got bored, you know, not having the success? Or
I mean, dude, there were so many points of like, all right, like, fuck, I hate this shit. Like all my friends, like,
yeah,
like fuck, like even the nerdy guy in my friend group is getting, like, it's like fucking making out with girls, and like there were so many points. But in terms of turning it around, it was probably around like 21. A big part of it was I had a really cool natural friend in college, and just like hanging out with him a lot. Like I started to like, my brain started to pick up on patterns. Like I started, I've always had like pretty good pattern recognition. So I started to see like what he was doing and like why it was working, because he couldn't explain why the shit he did worked, but I was able to kind of like decipher, like, all right, like this guy like all right, this guy like really doesn't give a fuck. Like he just like says whatever the fuck he wants. Like maybe there's to this, like, and so, you know, if I had asked him like, yo, why do you get laid so much? He'd be like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Like, well, but like I
right.
could like just going out with him a lot. That was a part of it. Starting to travel when I was in like like 21, 22 also helped. Then 22, read the game. That definitely like, I'm like, all right, hope this is like, there's like a whole like fucking science to the shit. I'm like, all right, interesting. I remember like when I got the game, I just read it in one sitting. Like I didn't put it down. It was like I stayed up for 8 hours just reading the book, finished the whole thing without like in one sitting. I was so fascinated. So yeah, a combination of things, and then it wasn't like an instant. Like it was just like bits of success, and then, you know, more and more, and just like kind of slowly. To then like the success motivated me to take more action, which created more success.
Legit. Yeah. And to that point too, I just want to point out to guys that are watching this, take note of that comment there, that it is sporadic success when you're getting started at this. It's not something that like you can't just go from like I have, obviously I coach guys, Lux Life. I teach them like how to go out and become better with women, actually start pulling ass. You can't just expect yourself to go from 0 to fucking hero overnight. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have these long periods of ups and downs. And it's almost like when you see a guy who's a coach or a guy who's succeeding, it's like you just sort of expect that, you're never going to get there, or it's going to come quickly. It's sort of like the two things that guys think. But that's not the truth. It's really just an unbelievable amount of ups and downs. I mean, I've had countless situations where I had a girl I liked and fucking dropped off because of some dumb shit I did, or just, a mistake I made, or just because of fucking chance, and girls are fucking crazy. And, I felt bad about it, struggled with it, So I think that point is really well taken. Now, what I really want to emphasize, though, is your online stuff. Like your online programs are really, really groundbreaking. And what they've done is they've actually allowed guys to really maximize their online dating stuff. And I'm actually curious, because my belief now is sort of like online dating is fucked in 2019. What are your thoughts about that? Are you still doing well? Is there a way to win in 2019? Because a lot of guys are just like, they just don't even think it's possible. They think that, online dating is just totally fucked in 2019 because girls are so overvalidated.
Why would it be fucked? Because there's more competition?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really do online dating anymore. I used to do it, but I've seen that it's just gotten ridiculous. Like, the small amount of matches that you get for the amount of time that you put in. I'd personally rather go out and game. That's kind of what I advocate, but I'm just curious how you feel about it at this stage. Is there a way to win? Can like a regular guy just do well? What are your thoughts on online dating this year?
I mean, I definitely wouldn't say it's fucked. Though the thing that's changing is in the past few years, there's more online dating has become more and more mainstream, right? Like a lot of people are just like now meeting like their whatever significant other through online. Like for example, my cousin met her boyfriend online. Like my aunt met the guy that she was dating through online. Like it's like these are like people who are like not like whatever like like sexual deviants. Let's just put it that way. Like just like fucking like more and more. I don't know how to say it, like everyday people. So online dating has become more mainstream. What that means is that there's more competition, right? That being said, even though there's more competition, most of your competition still fucking sucks. I recorded a video yesterday. We're going to re-record it because there's some technical issues with it, where I went through going through a girl's Tinder and breaking down exactly why 98% of your Tinder competition just fucking sucks. Like most guys are just making same mistakes, like weird, cringy openers, like pull the competition, say weird shit, or very cliche, boring, nice guy. Their bios just fucking like suck. Like the bios are just like losing them points. Like the bio is like we stumbled upon some like really fucking interesting bios last night. Like, like there was this one guy. We were swiping through her fucking Tinder, and there was one guy who's like wearing a dress as his first picture. Like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like. But that's the level of competition that's like out there. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of it, but most of it fucking sucks. So by following the advice that I give like for free on my website, but like the short version of that would be having a good profile, getting solid pictures taken that look natural and show off like your best features, right? Getting the lighting right, just looking good, like looking your best. If you're like a sexual market value is a 7, looking like an 8. Like you're not gonna look like a 10 if you're a 7, but you can look like an 8, right? Like looking your very best, sharp pictures, sharp bio, like good text game. You're already standing out from like 98% of the competition. You're competing against 2%. So absolutely a way to win. I mean, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I would say that Tinder 4 years ago was different just because there's like no competition. So you could have shitty pics and you could still get matches. Those days are kind of gone, I would say. So you do need to, because you have so much competition, but most of your competition sucks.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's a good winner mindset. So just to recap that, you'd say like natural pictures with good lighting. Like what do your pictures look like? You know, what is it that you have up there? Do you have, when I used to do this, like I used to tell guys do high status photos, like have a picture of you playing like high stakes poker, or you on a yacht, or you doing something cool and high status where you're the center of attention.
Yeah, the issue with that is that for most guys that comes off too try hard. So it doesn't natural when they do it. If you're a guy that like plays poker and hangs out at yachts, you know, you'll probably have pictures of you doing that activity. But for most guys, like especially guys who have never been on a yacht, like they're not gonna. I mean, they could. Anything can happen. But most of the time, like the pictures they're gonna get, they're just gonna look like staged and it's like the cliche guy posing next to the Lamborghini, and like it's just like so obvious he doesn't own that Lamborghini.
Yeah. Nowadays, yeah, it's pretty fucking obvious. Well, like, so just to give the audience like some basic takeaways without taking away, you know, obviously go if you're interested in maximizing your online dating presence. Alex is a great product on this. Go check that out on his site, Playing with Fire. But if you could just give them like, you know, just maybe a few quick tips on how to actually win, because I see it every single day, guys bitching about how, you know, they get, you know, the matches are just so horrible online.
Go. Okay, so I would start off with go out and get activity pics. So, for example, I'll give you an example of one of the pics I use. Right, it's a pic. I was walking around and I saw like a cool ass fucking bike. Right, like in I used to live in LA at the time. And I knocked on this guy's door and I was like, yo, man, I'm like, you have a badass bike. He's like, thanks, man. I'm like, listen, can I take some pictures on this bike? And he's like, yeah. Right. So I not that I ride bikes, but I kind of like, I used to snowboard, skateboard. So like, I look like I sort of know what the fuck I'm doing on a bike.
Right.
So like had my friend take 100 different fucking pictures of me, different angles. I was dressed well. We did a bunch of different angles, and one or two of those pics looked just like very natural, and I looked good in it. Like we had to take probably 100 pics. A few of them looked natural, and I looked like really good in it. Right, just a combination of those two things. That pic is now on my Tinder and does well. Right, it just looks like I'm about to just start like riding this bike. It doesn't look like I'm posing or trying hard. It looks like someone just casually snuck up on me and like took a picture basically while I was doing my thing. That's kind of like the
Nice. In terms of online dating accounts, you like Tinder, Bumble, you know, what do you use? What do you like? You know, what are your favorite?
I diversify. When I used to be really active, I used Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge. So like Badoo, I think sucks. So like I would probably say Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge are like the three best ones to diversify.
Nice. What do you think about seeking arrangements nowadays? You think you can use it for your advantage, or do you think it's like it's just something that like is blown up, it's played out, like you can't just?
It is definitely not. No, like seeking arrangement, I think is in its probably in its like glory days right now. Actually, in its glory or two though, but it's still going strong. Yeah, I used to fuck around on there like you could absolutely crush it on seeking arrangement, being like the hottest girls in your cities without time. The issue is that you need to have like a strong frame. So most guys are gonna get themselves probably into trouble on seeking arrangement. Like most guys who kind of like have a weak frame, they won't be able to pull it off. Like
it's not for newbies.
Yeah, that's why I don't talk about seeking arrangement that much on my website, because I feel like it's just gonna like get more guys and like, get some guys into trouble. Like there's like Tinder, Bumble, whatever, Hinge. The worst thing that can happen is you get catfish or something like that, right? Like it's like seeking arrangement. There's a little bit more consequences. Like you can have potentially bad situation, whatever. I mean, there's no point going down the negative rabbit hole. All this shit. There's potential. I've never had it happen.
I've heard stories of, of shit going down.
Stories, and most of the time, the mistakes could have been avoided. Let's just say.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe we'll talk more about that another day, maybe, because that's a very unique thing. I actually I used to speak with a guy who I'm not going to say his name, but he told me he used to do these things where he would have social experiments, as he called them, where he would pretty much host like tryouts for like waitresses for a bar he was opening or something like that. And he would kind of set up a situation where he was the investor and he'd have all these girls come and meet him for a bar he was opening or something like that. And he would date those girls. So it was a very similar thing. It was like he'd have these really hot women all vying for his attention, and then he would just develop relationships with them out of it. Kind of a similar thing.
There's a lot of shit you can do. I have a buddy who what he used to do is he would make a Tinder account with like model pics, like he would just take like a model and like the best pics, so you get like the hottest matches, set up dates, then give his friend the phone. Then he'd go to the bar, like kind of watch the girl, like let her sit down, order a drink, and then have this like all right, cancel the date, and then the girl, like right as he would like look for her to like get the sorry I can't make it text, and then approach her like,
oh my god. Dude, that is fucking genius. All right, so full disclosure, these are not endorsed techniques, but and they're definitely not for guys that are new, but I think it's important to talk about that stuff because you got to find ways to win, right? You got to find clever ways to win. You can't just be, cold approaching the rest of your life doing street game. So doing things like this actually works pretty well for some guys. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I find it pretty funny. Like,
yeah.
I probably wouldn't do it at this point in my life. Like, I would just prefer to meet girls, like, more honestly. Like,
yeah,
it is quite funny.
It is pretty fucking funny. Anyway, that's really funny. So one thing that I want to touch upon as well is that you started with you started your own forum because of the the censorship. You can't talk about this type of stuff too openly on social media. You definitely can't talk about it on Facebook anymore. YouTube, this is a little bit dicey of a conversation to be having on YouTube, but I'm just going to put it up anyway. And so you migrated a lot of this stuff over to your forums, Playing with Fire forums. What's the link again? And I'm going to link it down below as well.
Forums.playingfire.com.
Cool. And sort of pivoting this into business a little bit, how did you deal with this when YouTube and Facebook, they started censoring you, and then you lost a big stream of your marketing channel? You no longer had the same way to distribute your message and get traffic and make sales. How did you deal with it? What was like your mental process? How did you execute on it?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, we took a loss for several months. I never had issues with YouTube, actually. I had issues with Facebook. Facebook, basically, I had a Facebook group of like 8,000. It was almost 10,000 people. And then one day it just disappeared. Completely got shut down. No warning or explanation. Yeah, and there's like also like with Facebook, there's like no chance for like recourse. It's not like you can like just call a customer and like discuss your case. There's like no phone number. It's like the black hole. It's like something. There's no even email. You can't even email like these companies and like try to like yo, what happened? Like you have one form that you can fill out that no one ever fucking responds to you on. But yeah, so I had to. I'm like, okay, I have to do something. It wasn't a total shock when the group got taken down. Like me and my business partner had already been like sort of anticipating that at some point Facebook might take us down. We just didn't think it was going to happen that fast. So it was more of like we had a feeling. Like I'm always like scanning the horizon, looking for potential things that couldn't go wrong, so nothing catches me like totally off guard. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it sucked, you know, like, but you know, we expedited plans. We were gonna create forums anyway. We just expedited those plans. Um, created the forums, and then had to put in a lot of work to get, because it's so fucking hard. People are used to Facebook. Like when people are used to something, you have to give them so much reason and value that they switch over platforms. So we did that with the forums. Like, you know, we made the forums in terms of you know, like the user experience like significantly better. Just like you can upload down. Well, anyway, like a lot of shit, cool shit you can do on there you can't do on Facebook. So you have to do that. But also had to be like super fucking active on the forums. So people are like, all right, wow, like, yeah, like it's a pain in the ass for me to like use this platform I'm not familiar with at first. You know, obviously you get used to it after like a minute. But you know, there's so much value there. Like I'd be an idiot not to. That's kind of what the situation we had to create. So basically, just like being like solution oriented. Like, okay, it sucks, but you know we can't change that. What do we do next, right? And the solution was clear. You know, it's create something that we have full control over, right? Like we can never, like the forums we own. Like we can't. No one can ever shut down the Playing with Fire group now. You know, it's in the forums.
Exactly. Yeah, we did the same thing. I mean, we switched over from relying on Facebook, YouTube to doing paid ads and doing, you know, just building email lists, that type of stuff, something that we can control, something that we can own, instead of having to rely on, you know, these social media conglomerates, which clearly have a political bias, and they, you know, they're not trying to have guys learn how to get laid. You know, they're not trying to have that. So, you know, we had to figure out the same thing. Is that like your primary marketing channel, or do you have other ways of, you know, like how are you, you know, I hope this isn't too personal of a question, but like how are you selling your products and services now after?
No, it's not too personal. We're selling mainly through, I would say, we're doing zero email marketing and zero ads. Even though those two are definitely like very solid channels, we mainly rely on search engine SEO. So
Nice.
people how to get laid on Tinder, because we create a lot of articles, and like, you know, people it just comes up because people are like reading our articles, commenting on it. That's a big one. So content creation and SEO. And then second one is word of mouth. A lot of like, you know, people telling their friends and like it catching on. So a lot of referrals and word of mouth. We get a good amount of sales from like the cross promotion that we do. Like I'll make videos with other people on YouTube and vice versa. People find the YouTube channel and they go to the website. They start reading the content. They like the content, and they decide to buy the product. That sort of a thing. So it's just like trickling in from like people finding the content, becoming fans of the content, and eventually buying the product.
Yeah. You find a way somehow, right? Like you always figure out a way to make it work. Was
Yeah.
Was this your first business of your own, or were you always an entrepreneur, or did you? I read that you transitioned from, I think it was you took several different jobs. I read one of your articles recently. It was really good. But were you a corporate guy first, or were you always an entrepreneur? Did you have like an entrepreneurial spirit, or?
I definitely had like my family likes to tell stories of how when I was like 12, I would you remember when Livestrong bracelets were popular?
Yeah.
Yeah, like this was when I was like 12 or 13. I used to like hitch a ride into New York City, Chinatown, and buy like fucking like counterfeit Livestrong bracelets for like, I don't know, like like you could buy like 30 for like, I don't know, like $5, and then sell them on like eBay for like $30 each. Like, and then like with like the Xbox 360s, I would, because I knew they were going to be upselling like crazy on eBay, so I would like camp out, get a bunch of my friends too also, and then like buy there, like pay them like $100 to do it with me, then buy the Xbox off them, and then like sell it on eBay for like a huge markup. So I was always doing shit like that growing up, but like after college, I got more into like working. Like, yeah, I was in the corporate world for a bit. I did sales for a while. Worked for for a big company called Longevity, like the third largest residential solar retailer in the U.S. I actually thought I was going to be with them for a bit. I like that company. I was like growing a lot. I was getting promoted a lot, but they went bankrupt. And so after that, I was like, all right, like I don't really want to be in the corporate world anymore. That kind of left me like a little bit disillusioned because I was like, all right, well, like I can lose my job, like my livelihood due to like other people's bad decisions because that company didn't need to go bankrupt, right? Like, again, it was like, there's a lot of things it was doing right, but then there's like some things the top management did wrong, which resulted in me losing my job, but I didn't do anything wrong, right? So that was kind of my mindset. Okay, like if I work for someone else, I can, you know, like lose my job, even though I don't do everything, even though I do everything right, you know? So that's why I was much more attracted after that point to starting my own business.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds like, you know, you had an entrepreneurial spirit, you know, selling Livestrong bracelets. I think, you know, just as a side note, I had this conversation with a guy that's, you know, he's the man. He's like a multi-millionaire. He travels the world. He's polyamorous. He's got all these girls he's fucking. It's pretty awesome. And he was talking about this. It's like not, I feel like it's very in vogue to be an entrepreneur nowadays. And also it is important to have some entrepreneurial skills nowadays because you can't rely on just having a job because at some point, you know, in the near future, many jobs will be rendered obsolete. And also, you know, I just think in terms of success, like you're very capped if you rely on a job. Like your job is only going to pay you a certain amount of money. If you want to actually live an awesome life, you've got to be an entrepreneur because, you know, that's the only way you're going to break through a certain level of income. It's the only way, unless you climb the corporate ladder.
100%. The economy has changed so rapidly. Like the job market and the economy has changed so rapidly in the past like 10, 20 years. I think that our generation, I feel bad, you know, like, cause I feel like our parents' generation, like a lot of them like don't get it. And
no,
it sucks. It sucks because the way they grew up, like what they're used to is like, you graduate from college, you get a job, you do a good job at your job, you're rewarded with a promotion down the line. And then, you know, you can maybe you work for this company for 10 years and then you move on. They stay there, you know, forever. You know, you work your way up because if you do a good job, and then, you know, ultimately you retire, you get like a fair pension, and, you know, you can live a good life, you know, if you just do your due diligence. It's not the way it works anymore. You can go to a company, do a great fucking job, be like the #1 employee, still lose your job in a year because outsourcing, because now it's just like globalization. Like it's just like the job market is so different, and no one, a lot of skills that used to be valued are not valued anymore. Like what is being valued now by, that's why so many, this is what like in the US, like they say, oh, like, no, like it's so hard to find, like some people say it's so hard to find a job, you know, there's no jobs to be had. But there's actually, like, if you look at the statistics, there's a lot of jobs that are unfilled, but it's more of a mismatch of skills and what job, whatever, like companies who are hiring are looking for. It's not so much that there's no jobs in the U.S. It's just that there's a big mismatch, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's coming down to. But the best way, like to like secure your future, to have like the lifestyle you want, is to have. I would say like nowadays it's easier than ever to be an entrepreneur. Like the barriers to entry are just completely down. Pretty much anyone can be an entrepreneur, and doesn't have like just have like your own unique skills and your own unique brand that you can leverage. And if you can do that, you'll be much more secure than like, you know, relying on someone else, going to work for someone else.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I feel like the main currency nowadays that's actually valuable is being creative and coming up with a creative, unique, valuable solution to a problem. That's really where the future is at, because I think about things like AI, I think about outsourcing, I think about globalization, and I realize like, you know, even jobs like accounting, lawyering, all these different jobs that we thought would be like staples in our economy forever, they're going to go away. You know, they're going to go away in the near future. People in India or China, they'll figure out how to do an accounting job for an American business just as well as an American. Some AI computer will figure out how to do lawyering as well as any lawyer. I think the future really is going to be about, finding creative solutions to problems, which we're always going to have, which is sort of the crux of what like you and I do. Like we both find solutions to problems. Men and women, we're always, I don't see that going away anytime soon. I don't see the struggle to have a better relationship or a better sex life going away anytime soon. In fact, I think that that's only going to get worse. I would actually say like this is probably the lowest point. I can't imagine how much lower it's going to get, but it's certainly pretty fucked up now with the way that men and women relate nowadays in the United States. Like men have no idea how to approach women. They're conditioned now. I feel so bad for young kids now, man, that are coming up in this economy, the way things are. Like they're taught, oh, you have to ask for permission every step of the way. You can't, like I can't imagine a 16-year-old kid would be necessarily smooth with physically escalating on a girl, with the way things are, unless he had like a really cool cousin or something that showed him. So I don't know. I think that dating will be one of those things that actually is a very valuable thing for people to learn, in the near future, because kids just have no fucking idea, man. Like I had no idea back in the day. I just had no idea what it was to be a man and lead a woman to turn her on, because I didn't see any of that growing up. And now it seems like that's just the standard, like most people, they just supplicate to women. They just don't get it. So,
I see a lot of, what I see a lot of, like, especially like if we're talk like amongst the, I don't, this is a shitty word, but whatever. I can't think of a better way to say it. Elite, like guys, like the rich guys who are going for tents. I see a lot of like almost like pay for play type of thing. Like not like these girls would never call themselves prostitutes, and these guys would never say they're paying for sex. But like the girl is like, baby, like I like can you loan me like $5,000 so can you loan me like $50,000 so I could get like a Range Rover? My dad won't do it. And like, yeah, sure. And then like it's like a loan that the girl is never gonna pay you back for. It's not really a loan. And like you only gave it to her because you want to fuck her, right? Like if it was like a random guy that, like not even like a close friend, like maybe if like you wouldn't even give it to your close friend, but like a random guy, like this is just a random chick to you, was like, yo, bro, I get $50,000 because I can buy a Range Rover, like, fuck, that looks like.
Dude,
but
these guys feel so bad about it too.
Big tits. Yeah, sure. So like I see a lot of that, and it's like these guys are doing it because they like don't know a better way.
They feel really bad about it too. They feel like I just even though they're fucking really hot girls, these guys are like fucking the Seeking Arrangements girls, or the bottle, the Miami doll type girls or whatever, with the fake tits and the fake lips and all that. They still are miserable with it because they're not meeting them honestly, as you said earlier. Like they're not meeting them, and they're not having a relationship with them based on, I'm the prize. Like I'm the reason that you're in this relationship. You're not in this relationship for money, because that's not what it's about. Whenever I'm in a relationship with a girl, it's about us being together. And, if everything goes to hell, you're going to be there for me. You're not going to be there for necessarily my money or my place or some external thing. It has to be about you. And I think that's what those guys are missing. Those guys have no, they just get comfortable with just relying on their status or their money or their fucking whatever to get women. It's almost like guys who just pick girls up off tables, like high-end nightclubs. It's like, yeah, you can pick up a girl who's flocking to you at your fucking table at Vandal or whatever the fuck, but can you really just meet a girl casually in the supermarket and attract her there? They don't think so either, Can't hear you, bro. Is your Wi-Fi working, man? Because I can't hear you.
Can't hear me at all? Yeah, it should be
No, I
working.
can hear you now, but before I missed that whole last thing you said.
Oh, what I was gonna say, yeah, if you're relying basically on external factors to get the girl, like all external factors, you're fucked, right?
Yeah.
Because all factors always change. You know, like say you're like a really rich guy, right? Like you're fucking a billionaire, and then you become a millionaire, right? You're still a really rich guy, but like in that girl's mind, you suddenly like extremely went down in value. So like, bam, she's gone. Like she's gone for the billionaire, right? Versus internal factors, like it doesn't matter. Dave Chappelle has a great skit on this, which I like 100% agree with. He's like, yeah, he's like, when I meet girls, he's like, I roll up to them in like a garbage truck, and like if the girl rejects me, I'm like, I'm Dave Chappelle, bitch. Like, element of truth to it. Like, if you're like, if I was a super fucking rich guy or super famous, I still would like want to test the girl to make sure that like it's not the external things that are making her like fucking attracted. But I actually have a really great story on this, like a really great story. This was a seeking arrangement chick I banged about a year ago, really fucking hot. And she was telling me like some stories that were just hilarious. But the best story that she told me was how she was so young. I think she was like maybe like 19, 20 or something like that. She's like, yeah, at the age of 18, I was like the office manager at my my company. And I was like, holy fuck, like how, like that's, you don't become an office manager at the age of 18. Like, how the fuck did that happen? She's like, well, you know, my boss really wanted to fuck me, and I let him. And I'm like, whoa, can you elaborate on this? Literally fucking, I was more interested in hearing this story than I was in fucking her the second time, because this is like such a bad. But basically what happened was she got a job as like an intern at this company working for this like, you know, really successful businessman, right? And, you know, she was probably the hottest girl in the office. Like this chick was like quite fucking hot. Like 18-year-old with huge tits and like, you know, beautiful face. And she said that she noticed that within a few months that she was started like just her check just got bigger and bigger, right? Like this was the way the guy communicated intent. Like
wow. Holy shit, dude.
She went and she actually confronted like the boss, like not in a bad way, but she's like, hey, you know, I noticed I'm you know, getting more money. And he's like, yeah, you know, like I really like you. I want to see you like be successful in the company. Wow. Blah blah blah. And she was like kind of like a blunt girl, so she figured out like pretty quickly. And she's like, or is it just because you think I'm hot and you want to fuck me? I don't think she said it exactly like that, but it was like she like kind of implied it. And then he got like all red and shit. And she's like, and he's like, well, you know, maybe.
Oh my god, dude.
She was like, this is what would happen. I would let this guy fucking I think his name was like Steve or something like that. It's a common name, so we can use it. She's like, I would let Steve fuck me. He would bust a nut in like 20 to 30 seconds. I would never let him come inside me. She's like, I would never let him come inside me. I would make Steve come on the couch, and that would make him clean it up. I'd be like, Steve, clean up the goddamn couch. And then I was just running that whole office. Like, he made me like the office manager. She's like, half the people there hated me because they've been there for 10, 20 years, like actually knew the industry. Like, they should have been the office manager. She was like some, like, at this point, she's probably 19, like hot 19-year-old who's running the whole office. Steve had like fucking 3 of these offices. So she was literally like the boss of this giant office. All people who were like in their 40s, 50s had like given 10 to 20 years. And what she had to do was let Steve like, Steve, like maybe once a week, maybe like twice a month. She's like, it always lasted like 30 seconds. So like, 5 minutes of sex a month. I would like.
Can't hear you, bro. Can't hear you.
So she was like, to see how push. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. It literally just came back. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Like, yeah, I want to see how far I could push it. So I'd be like, all right, Steve, like, we're gonna fuck now. Get your small dick over here. Like, she would literally say that to him, like the CEO of like the company, and like he would fuck her, and she would make him come on the couch. I don't know why that was a thing, and then make him clean it up. But then like a big thing she said was something along the lines of like, yeah, I would never let a guy come in my mouth like that, who I'm not dating. That's just disrespectful. And then we had a moment of silence. Like, wait a second.
Moment of silence.
And I'm like, wait a second. I just fucking busted in your mouth and you swallowed. Yeah. She's like, yeah, but you're like hot.
Right.
Or what she means is like, I'm pretty good looking. I'm not great looking. What she means is like, yeah, I'm a cool guy. I'm not like a fucking bitch like Steve, you know? And then, yeah, Steve's story is like pretty sad. Eventually, Steve became addicted to coke, started losing money, and she moved on to a different position because she saw that, you know, whatever this guy literally started running out of money because he was spending it on coke and paying for sex, you know, was rewarding incompetence, just a horrible way to run a business, right? So this guy, Steve, you know, probably a promising entrepreneur at one point, but literally because of the fact that he can't get laid like the normal way, pretty much fucked up his whole life.
Yeah. That's, I think two things when you tell me that story. I think one, how crazy women can be, you know, just the sheer fact that she's telling you all this shit, whether or not, you know, my gut instinct is that she is saying a lot of that to you to kind of make you feel like, you know, girls will tell you a lot of stuff to make you feel big and important to get you to lock it down. So part of me says like, oh yeah, she's saying all this stuff to get you to lock it down. And then also part of it is also very true where Steve is probably just, you know, literally, you know, some guy who is super, you know, like he's probably killing it in business, but he can't fucking talk to a girl to save his life, you know, which is so crazy to think, you know, these guys will go head to head with, you know, hardcore negotiators, guys that are like really intense in the boardroom, and they'll grill you and they'll put you under all this pressure. Then they just fold for a 19-year-old girl. I could absolutely see that happening. And I do see that happen all the time. In fact, you know, we've actually had like a few different clients that were super fucking successful. I mean, there was no, I mean, like, dude, if I told, I can't say who they are, but they were literally some of the biggest. One guy that we had was running one of the biggest tech companies that you've heard of. It was fucking crazy. And, you know, we've had all these different guys that were very, very successful, multimillionaires. And yet they just had this unbelievable block when it came to women. They just couldn't see a girl for what she is. You know, a girl's just like another human being, right? Like she's just another human being who has a sex drive. She has a dark side. She takes shit. She does all types of nasty things. She cheats on her boyfriend. She lies. She steals money. Like she does stuff. You know, we all have dark sides of ourselves, but I think that these guys put women up on these unbelievable pedestals, and like they could just never just relate to a woman as a human being. Probably because they got so conditioned and they got beaten down so much by different women they were seeing who saw like, oh shit, this guy can't actually get other girls. And when women see you can't get other girls, once they find that out, you're done. You know, you're just fucked. Like there's nothing you could do. I mean, that's why, like I tell guys, do everything in your fucking power. Do online dating. Do, you know, cold approach. Do whatever you got to do. But don't just have one option. You know, it's crazy to think that guys just have one option when you look at girls' lives. What those look like. They don't just have one option. They have infinite options, especially nowadays. That was part of what I wanted to ask you about with the online dating thing. It's like girls' options have gotten so fucking crazy now where like they could be on Instagram and slide in the DMs of celebrities, or they could go on Seeking Arrangements, or they can, you know, back pages down so they can't be on Backpage anymore to sell themselves, but they find ways to, you know, meet the high status guys, and it's easier now than ever. So it's like a lot of guys nowadays feel completely helpless towards this. You know, what are your overall thoughts or strategies for guys to getting out of that scarcity?
Yeah, so I would say, okay, so that's a good question, and it's a question that I've definitely like. I think it's definitely a sentiment a lot of guys feel and share. Here's how I would counter that, right? First off, realize that the number of women in the world compared to the number of men in the world hasn't changed in the past 20 years, right? Like there's still, it's not like, it's not like now mothers are like fucking birthing 10 men for every girl. It's not like there's physically more competition. All that has changed is like access, right? Like before, like, like people like 30, 40 years ago, like you really mostly met girls through like your social group, through your church, through your work, your high school, university, whatever, right? The internet has just been like a giant, like fucking, like levelizer, right? Like no longer do you need to do that. And still a lot of people meet their mates, whatever, through like the way they did 30 years ago. I'd still say it's like a pretty good amount. But now there's this levelizer, right? Like, which is the internet. And like, yes, now, girls are exposed to much more guys, but conversely, you are exposed to much more girls. So 30 years ago, how could you meet girls? Before the internet, you can meet girls, through your high school, through your college, through your social group, whatever. And now you still have those options. Hopefully you have a social group, but you also have access. So the game has changed. You have to realize the game has changed. You have to, you can have like debates with your buddies about like, the pros and cons, but like you have to come to terms with that things are different. Like, for example, my dad is someone who still, my parents are separated, right? And like my dad still hasn't come to terms with the fact that things are different now than when he was growing up. And like my dad was someone who actually used to like bang a lot of girls when he was younger, right? But like now he doesn't, like things are different. He's like, he like almost like complains to me. He's like, yeah, he's like, I understand, your generation, you guys meet each other on the internet. He's like, I find that weird. But like, it's not that he finds it weird per se. It's just that he hasn't come to terms with that things are different now. So the first thing you have to do is come to terms that things are different. Access has just completely changed. Once you do that, you can leverage that to your advantage. Get a fucking dope Instagram. Every guy should have a dope Instagram. Like how we're talking about how girls are sliding into celebs' DMs. Yeah, 100% that is happening. I've heard numerous stories of that is happening. But I have a pretty good Instagram. My Instagram isn't great. I'm working on it. But like I have girls occasionally slide into my Instagrams, or more commonly, they'll like a bunch of my pics. Girls who are just like in my general city, and then it's like a warm lead. So like, like that will happen also, right? Like, so whereas in the past, like 20, 30 years ago, me and that girl might have never crossed paths. So like things have changed for both parties. I would say that leverage the fact that 98 to 99% of your competition completely fucking sucks. And I say that like not to disparage the average guy, because I used to fucking suck as well. Like I was one of the guys who fucking sucked. But, I got good. So also get good. Realize that most of your competition sucks. And if you can stand out, like, for example, what is Instagram? Really is just like having really good pics, witty fucking hashtags, mainly good pics. Yeah, pics on your Instagram. You're not from 99% of your competition. I have a buddy. I'll give a quick anecdotal example. I have a buddy who took the shit to the next level. So this is actually the same guy who did the fucking canceling dates thing or whatever. This guy's like evil genius when it comes to getting. I love this kid. But anyway, so what this guy did was he got his Instagram. He got a bunch of good pics on there, but then he also took pics of a famous DJ who kind of looks like him, incorporated it into his Instagram in such a way that you can't tell that it's like half the pics aren't real. So now if you go through this guy's Instagram, it looks like he's like a high value famous DJ. That's literally what it looks like. Unless you like a really good, like if you're going through with like a fine tooth comb, you're gonna think like, yeah, this guy's a high value DJ. Bought like 30,000 Instagram followers, or maybe like 100,000. So he just looks like a high value DJ, and he like leverages that hardcore. Like he has pretty good game in real life. Like he tells me, he's like, yeah, occasionally, I'll see a girl at the club. She's like fucking stuck up club girl. I'll be running my best game, and it's kind of going lukewarm. And then like I find an excuse to show her my Instagram, and bam, like fucking like I see like the AIs and shit. And I bang her. So it's like you can bitch about the game, or you can leverage the fact that things are different. Like, I don't think that I definitely don't think things are worse now. I just think things are different, and that if you can adapt, just like with business, I don't think that like a lot of people like bitch about like, you know, like, oh, the work, you know, it's different now, like, you know, it's so much harder. And I have like sympathy for those people because things have changed. But if you can embrace the change and the positives of the change, the fact that now there's like no barriers, almost no barriers to entry to being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, all these like great services available, like you can make it, you know, in the job market, just like you can make it in the dating game. You can even be more successful at it than someone 20, 30 years ago. But you have to accept that things are different and then use it to your advantage. That's my very long-winded answer to that.
No, legit, man, legit. It's a great mentality, man. That's you know what I love about everything you've said? It's all winner mentality. It's all finding and seeing the advantages in the change, you know, because life is always changing. You know, next year, you know, the dating game is going to be different. Business is going to be different. Life is always changing. So, you know, to have that mindset of like, it's good that it's changing. I'm happy it's changing. I'm going to find a way to make it work despite the changes is fucking awesome. So with that said, man, I think we got like a solid amount of value to people. We're going to link your forum down below, and anything else that you want to say to the audience before we close it, or?
Yeah, I mean, like your thing is mainly entrepreneurship. So I would say like, look at a company like Netflix, right? Like what was Netflix like initial business model? It was like fucking sending, you know, DVDs through the mail, and it worked. But if they had stayed with that business model, they would be dead. They would have been dead like 3-4 years ago.
Right.
But now is one of the most successful companies, you know, in the world because they adapted to the way things were changing. They saw that, okay, people are more not interested in getting DVDs anymore. They're more interested in streaming. So we're going to do that. Okay. Like actually, if we want to leverage content and create our own content, like, you know, like HBO and shit is doing. So like they adapted and the times, and that just made them more and more successful. So I guess I would say that, like, you know, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to start your own business, you have to accept change, like, and then you have to kind of roll with it. It will be the best way of saying that. If you can do that, like your odds of making it now are better than they were ever in human history.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Awesome. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. And anybody that's interested in learning to step up their online dating, check out Alex's stuff at Playing with Fire and check out his new forums. Thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, bro. Later, man.
Bye.